Hello everybody, and welcome back to One Nerd to Rule Them All. And in today's video, we'll be finally diving into the Witcher universe. Enhanced warrior monster hunters with magical abilities. But how does one become a Witcher? That is the question I'll be trying to answer today. So, without further ado, let's get into the video. To start, we need to ask the question, what is a Witcher? A Witcher is someone who has underwent extensive training, ruthless conditioning, and various alchemical rituals that result in mutations, all in a bid to create a nomadic monster slayer for hire. So why were Witchers created? As humans settled in the northern part of the continent, they had to deal with the vast array of monsters that inhabited that land, monsters that they were poorly equipped to deal with. To fix this, the northern rulers tasked their mages to create magical wielding warriors to deal with them. As a result, the mages carried out experiments at Rissberg Castle. These experiments proved fruitful, and the first Witchers were created. Unfortunately, the Witchers proved to have limited magical potential, and were thus deemed failures and banished from the castle. So what does it take to become a Witcher? Witchers are taken as children and trained at specialist schools. Once there, they undergo what is known as the trials, a series of vigorous transformative processes using secret herbs and infusions. Those that survive gain superhuman reflexes, speed, and night vision, amongst other traits. They learn swordplay and basic magic, known as signs. They also develop a unique culture, specialised knowledge, an effective training system, and a code of honour. Witcher schools train Witchers, teaching them magic fundamentals and unique fighting styles. The schools are distinguished by their rituals, a structured form of magic that can surpass spells in power. These rituals require specific components and time to execute. Each school, including the school of the wolf, bear, griffin, viper, and cat, has distinct rituals and training methods. Their main role in society is to exterminate monsters, a duty that they are prepared for from early age. As we know, despite their banishment, Witchers did not die out, so where did they go? After the Witchers were banished, they were brought to the castle of Morgrag by a handful of mages who wished to continue the experiment. Here the first generation of Witchers continued to train while the mages created more, soon establishing the Order of Witchers. As the first 5 original Witchers set out on their path, the first age of Witchers began. However, over time, the Order, after being abandoned by the original mages, had a violent fight break out among them, resulting in several deaths and a rift being formed. And with other Witchers growing discontent about their Order's purpose and leaving as well, this eventually led to the Order's end, when the final Witchers abandoned Morgrag, and thus brought the first age of Witchers to an end as well. After the Order ended, and the 6 independent schools were built, the second era of Witchers began, which Witchers themselves refer to as the Golden Age of Witchers. With the continent divided between the schools, and each one creating their own Witchers, their work became effectively organised. Past tensions between them calmed down, and when Witchers from different schools crossed paths, no blood was shed, as each knew they had their own territory, making them treat each other more like estranged brothers than bitter enemies, like they had done in the past. By the mid-1160s, Witchers had become too successful, with monsters having grown increasingly rare. This, combined with a mixture of propaganda by the churches of the north and the distrust of many of the kingdom's rulers, led to Witchers themselves being seen as monsters in most of the population's eyes. In turn, almost every known school came under attack from various groups of people. By the time the last school fell, the number of Witchers had diminished greatly, compounded by both those killed defending their schools and the loss of knowledge on how to create Witchers, so no more could be made. So what are the common traits of a Witcher? Aside from their built form, Witchers would probably be able to pass by easily if not for their cat-like eyes, longer lifespans, and accelerated healing. In addition to these more noticeable features, if one was to engage with a fight with somebody, They would also witness their increased strength, speed, reflexes, and endurance, allowing a Witcher to overpower enemies that are bigger than they are, man or monster alike. Witchers also are seen to be void of emotion, giving the impression of being less approachable. Although this is not to say they do not have emotions, but perhaps a response to their hard training, genetic modification, and the seclusion that they have experienced. In addition to their increased physical abilities, they are also highly skilled in weaponry. Known best for their skills with swords, most Witchers will be found with a sword on their person, usually on their back, made of either steel or silver, to allow them to fight the most mundane of creatures all the way through to the toughest of monsters. Another feature that Witchers are rarely found without is their medallion. Each one is made of silver and is shaped to represent their school that they hailed from. For example, Geralt of Rivia's medallion is the shape of a wolf. These medallions are sensitive to magic, causing them to vibrate or even tug at the Witcher's neck when spells are being cast or when monsters are nearby. None of this is to say that Witchers are invincible. They can and have been killed, if that is because a monster got the better of a Witcher, or if perhaps the number of more mundane creatures such as men overpowered them. Nonetheless, Witchers are definitely a formidable creation. So that brings us to the end of today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed our first deep dive into the Witcher universe, and if you have any suggestions, then leave them in the comments down below. I would be happy to do more. In the description, you will find links to 2 YouTube channels. The first to my partner Rothmer's channel, so if you enjoy MMOs, action RPGs and streams, then please feel free to check that out. And the second link is my partner and I's joint channel called Nerdy Miniatures, where we cover all things Warhammer. So if that is more your cup of tea, then there is that also. Anyway, that'll be it from me. I hope you guys have a wonderful day or night wherever you are in the world. Bye for now.